It's going to be an uncomfortable change because from an experience perspective, it takes you one or two steps back, of course.
Yes.
But we still think we've got the will and the technology to still leapfrog. So please, my request would be for customers to please bear with us for just a while whilst we all go through the transition.
You know, keeping in line with your business strategy, and I think you're already starting to talk about that. Again, I think you've been reiterating throughout the conversation, it really puts the customer at the center. You know, are there any other projects or initiatives that the customer can expect from FNB?
There is quite a slew of potentially disruptive things that are driven, one from our end, but also through regulators and other parties, you know, beyond our pay grade. So we are expecting the national payments mechanism that Eswatini uses right now is currently outsourced to a different country to be localized and brought back into Eswatini. It's going to change a lot. And I think the regulator, especially the Central Bank of Eswatini, has spoken to that. It is going to impact a lot, but we just need to make sure that we get into the detail, the granularity around how do we protect pricing to make sure that, you know, we're moving from a bigger environment in a different country to a smaller environment. How do we make sure that the commercial agreements in the background protect what customers ultimately have to pay without necessarily, it's the regulator's mandate. But you want that to happen through a commercial mechanism rather than through regulation in an ideal world. So we're expecting some changes there. There's a lot of talk around the common monetary area in terms of how cross-border flows from Eswatini to the common monetary countries should flow and from them here. So we're expecting some big disruption somewhere around September. And there's lots of work that's being done in the background. We think we are reasonably well prepared because we've already built a capability on the FNB app where before you could send money instantly cross-border. I think as of September, we'll now be asking everyone, including small values, to go through the app or to go through online and just complete a lot more fields before the transaction is allowed to go through, because that is what is now required by regulation. We think we can reduce this to minutes. It's a big change for us because we're moving from seconds. So we can reduce it to ideally, I know right now we're talking about an hour or so, but we can drop it to about 20 minutes. That's the target anyway. And then ultimately we think it would be seamless. And the limitation is that because now we're going through a differently regulated process, there are windows where the flows can be accepted and allowed to go through. So that's the one limitation. But I do think that between us and regulators, there is a lot of effort being invested in solving for that too. It's going to be an uncomfortable change because from an experience perspective, it takes you one or two steps back, of course. But we still think we've got the will and the technology to still leapfrog. So please, my request would be for customers to please bear with us for just a while whilst we all go through the transition. We won't drop you.
Fantastic. How would you say that these offerings align with FNB's, you know, commitment to helping the customer, not only your customers, but also the Eswatini community as a whole, the entire country? Because that is the context that you operate within.
We don't want, I certainly, my ex-colleagues are not in the room. I certainly struggle to look at us and think of FNB as a bank. I just think that's too narrow. The things we do and the way we think, we need to transcend banking. Yes, that's the licensed environment, but we should see ourselves as a lifestyle partner, a lifestyle enabler. Because when we lock ourselves into thinking that we are just a bank, we'll then trap ourselves again into a very specific way of doing things. So how do we enable your life and enable business, a business enabler, enable business to do what business needs to do? So a lot of the changes that we're looking at are trying, it's an attempt to transform the bank into that type of thinking. We also see ourselves as a fairly serious technology player. And there's a big question that we, I think, have raised with our board to say, what should this look like, long term? Yes, we're a bank, but everything that we have now is technology driven. How do we then build this entity that still fulfills its commercial banking license obligations, but becomes the beast it needs to become to continue its growth and to continue its positive influence on society? So I'm excited by the fact that there are these big questions that we have, and I'm okay with not having all of the answers today. Because it gives us almost like a white paper for innovation and for transformation. But yes, enabler.
Lifestyle
and business enabler.
I really like the sound of that. And you're talking about taking us just beyond banking, right? It's about my entire life embroiled and ingrained inside how FNB works.
So the Kutsala Employment Activation Program was meant for people like the ones I described when you started. You're waiting for a job, but you see a need. You don't have the paperwork and the history, the credit history to get funding. Can we give you 50,000 and allowing you to start that waste management project in your village?